Recording in progress.
Hi there.
Well, hi there.
Well, go ahead. Let's jump in.
Here we are. We're recording. We're in a Zoom meeting today, and my name is Rick Zanotti with Internal Mind Incorporated. Almost. It's actually been filed. We're waiting to be finalized. It's a new company. We actually closed our old company down after several decades, and we started something new and a little bit different. More details to come. Joining me is my good friend and co-host, Dr. Susan Nash. How you doing today, Susan?
Oh, I'm really doing well and just kind of on a high after a couple of different events. Last week there was a conference in Houston that helped organize. It's called Subsurface Energy to Power. So thinking
Hmm.
about all different kinds of issues today, and then also I've been working on a couple of others. One's an Gen AI to subsurface. It's just all machine learning, all different kinds of things. So I thought, okay, what does all of this have in common? And you and I were talking about time, and I think we all think not enough time in the day, but that's just one aspect of time.
Yeah, we've got time, you've got specific processes. A lot of people think AI is all encompassing. We're going to be taken over. We're going to die. No. If you really look at AI, you've got generalized AI like ChatGPT or Gemini, or other ones out there. There's a lot of them, but many of them share the same foundations. Large language models, they're renting space and time from something like ChatGPT or Google. So you may have other systems that sound like they're their own AI, but they're really using some of the big guys out there. However,
Oh, definitely.
most yeah, and most AI where it's really effective isn't as a whole. It's in the processes. You may have processes where you have to measure something over and over and over again, or you have to analyze trends, try to figure it's something based in an accounting system or whatever. There's just different processes. So we'll look at Copilot for Office 365. It does certain things, not everything, but it does certain things to make it faster for you, to make it get rid of some of the repetitive work that we as humans do, not always well, but we do. Um, and I think that's where the myth and the legend, overrides the reality. Everyone's terrified. Oh my God, AI is going to kill us and this and that. And the reality is AI is only as good as the programmers who program it. That's where the problem with AI also lies. There's no such thing as bad AI, but there are bad programmers. So,
Well, yeah, that's true, but I will jump in there and say, okay, we are seeing lots of layoffs due to people are blaming it on AI. What's really
no.
happening, for example, is that people are outsourcing and they're going to the companies that are employing AI assisted things
Hmm.
like, um, well,
Right.
for example, the federal government and the Department of Energy, or and the Department of Defense. I
Hmm.
know of at least one person whose contract is ending in March. She's a mainframe programmer. Well, her contract, she's a contractor. Her contract is expiring, and they're going to go with a different contractor that's going to use AI for everything. And so she doesn't need to independently code anymore.
Right.
And so, I mean, that's
Right.
kind of sad. At the same time, I mean, clearly there's a need to be in those, like, I guess, generic service providers. The downside is, and this is what you're talking about, what happens if the programmers or the people in those roles have no domain expertise.
And many times they don't.
Yeah, why would they?
And when you consider that we're outsourcing to all sorts of other countries, which have
Mhm.
very different cultures, history, backgrounds, um, poverty levels, you name it. Though we're getting there with the poverty levels. We're actually catching up. We should be a pretty much third world country pretty soon at the rate we're going. But you know, all semi joking aside, uh, it those processes and all of that. For example, oh, what is a good example of AI taking over something?
I've got some. An
Yeah,
article
any
just came out. So
yep.
there are 10 examples. This is an article that I wrote that came out this week in the Nate
Ah,
magazine. So it's energy related, but
mhm.
I have 10 different examples of agentic workflows that you
Okay,
can build in 90 days. So the AI, agentic AI, for example, will get like a sensor trigger. It will trigger to go to something else, to go to something else, to go to something else. It's
hmm,
automation. And so one thing that's going on is say something is out of whack in the offshore automated production platform, then if instead of having a person having to do one or two different things and go and the agentic AI will do it for them. And
right.
the question is, what if these are false positives?
That's true.
Or they're not catching the triggers. So the sensor systems have to be calibrated all the time.
Sure, sure. And then you would have some overarching other process that watches the sensor.
True. Yes. And that's an opportunity. If you can come up with things that watch the sensors, um, but then that gives you complete and total control where you could actually do good things or bad things.
Yeah, and when I say that AI is it's not bad. The programmer who makes the AI or the corporation that tells the programmer what to put in the AI, it's a known fact that scientists will do whatever it takes to make money, unfortunately.
Or to have
Not
success
in
to
all
achieve their
cases.
goal, whatever their goal is.
Yeah, whatever the goal is. And the goal isn't always a very humane one. There's a lot of problems. And if you look at a lot of the weaponry systems we have in this world, they were built by scientists with an idea from someone else, usually in the military or some sort of government agency. Not necessarily good. I mean, maybe good for that one country, but not necessarily good for other countries. Um,
Or the
so
environment.
you have the philosophical argument of, is AI good or bad? It isn't. AI is. What the motives are behind it may be good or bad. And I think that's where people are getting confused, or they really think that everybody's evil. And that's a whole other issue. Um, if you have a programmer that is told, we want you to code something that goes off and deletes everyone's account on an Apple computer everywhere around the world. Well, Apple already can do that. They've proven that. I remember years ago, not that many years ago, maybe 10 years ago, when apps started becoming really popular. I I can't remember what the app was, but all of a sudden it disappeared off my phone and everybody else had it disappear and Apple took it away from them. They can do that. Well, that really ticked off people. And then Apple's, I don't think they've done that again. They got a lot of pushback on that one. Um, but
That's but that's a
that
really good point. I mean, yeah, and I'll let you finish that because I had a thought that came to mind.
no, go ahead.
Okay, well, okay, so you're pointing out that there's some intentionality, someone is making that decision, and it's a person. I think the big fear in these like post-apocalyptic um, scenarios is or sci-fi is when the agentic AI becomes sentient and then starts to have make its own decisions based on
It-
whatever patterns.
but that sentience has to be programmed.
But what
That's
is
that's
self-programming and
that's
self?
kind of, but it won't, I don't, AI won't develop emotions. It'll develop maybe fake emotions, but they're not real and they'll be based on examples that were ingested. That doesn't mean it has any heart, if you will.
This is
It's
patterns.
it's a
Yeah.
pattern. If you can, that's all AI is. We've talked about that before. It's a pattern. So if you have a pattern that can generate love, okay, humans have a hard enough time with love. You think a sentient computer would be any better? I don't think so.
Well, but
Um,
I'm thinking of just preservation and self-interest. I mean, I can imagine in a future world, um, just the everything just down to two or three data centers housing
mhm.
banks of computers and maybe three people still alive to like reboot it whenever
Yeah.
when the
Well,
information
that'll solve the population problem, right?
well,
What
I mean,
happened?
it's true. It's definitely like the War of the Machines concept, which has been around for a
Yeah.
long time.
Well, there was a movie back 1950s, 1958 or 9, I think. It was called Forbidden Planet. You remember that one?
Yes.
The evil Krell Empire. They weren't evil, but they destroyed themselves when they let go of the id, their internal evil. You know, there was kind of the concept of, well, we can be good, but we can also be bad. And in that movie, spoiler alert, the bad guy is the main scientist on Altair 5, I think was the name of the planet that was colonized by the, oh, what was it, Federation of Planets or whatever. It was like Star Trek, but about 40, probably about 20 years before it. Actually, not even that long. Star Trek was mid 60s. So about maybe 15 years, 10, 15 years before that. And and the whole idea was that this whole Krell Empire destroyed themselves because their inner evil or bad thoughts were there. Well, they had a thing called Robbie the Robot, which was later in Lost in Space. I'm going
Yeah.
back in time, way back. That was again, I think, late 60s or early 70s. I think Lost in Space was probably more like early 70s. But Robbie the Robot was programmed never to hurt a human.
Oh yeah, kind of Isaac Asimov, iRobot inspired.
Yes, yes. And that was another good book from way back when, I, Robot.
Oh, yeah, and the
Um,
early one with the robots is like the 1930s, and then it was the whole idea is from robot, which means in um, robota is work in Russian.
yeah, I
Well,
work.
so I love what you're saying, and let's think about speculative fiction from way back, and let's think about have you seen the okay, Mary Shelley, we know Frankenstein,
Frankenstein, yeah.
but there's also um, the Omega Man or the
Yeah.
Prometheus. And
Hmm.
do you remember the movie from this, I think the 70s of the Omega Man? I
Yeah, I do.
watched that. It was so depressing.
I'm trying to remember who starred in that one.
Um, the same guy that was in Planet of the Apes and
Charlton Heston.
yes,
So
yes.
it was him. Yeah,
Yeah. He was yeah, he was also in Soylent Green, which is another
that's right. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, the 70s had great post-apocalyptic films and
that's right. Yeah. Um,
but Mary Shelley in this like speculative fiction really looking at automation and electricity and
mhm.
galvanic theory then questioning what does it mean to be human after she's made this creepy um, sewn together beast.
And let's not forget Mel Brooks, the comic side of the future, young Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah.
That was actually funny. If you haven't seen those Mel Brooks movies, they're pretty funny.
Well, so when you think about it, so Mary Shelley was thinking a lot about science and this right in the midst of some of the problems of industrialization, but then also some of the
Mhm.
promise of electricity and the idea that it could revive life. And then it comes back to the heart of it. What are we trying to do? Are we trying to buy time? And what does it mean to be in the moment? You mentioned this before the show.
Well, right before the show, we were talking, kind of a little whimsical discussion on time. And everybody loves to say, I'm in the moment. Well, then you're not in very much of anything, because if you look at a moment of time, the present is not there for any more than an infinitesimally small moment, because time is a stream that we know. It's no longer a second in time. It's a moment. A moment in time is really a moment in a stream. It's so fast that nobody would even know you're in that moment. You're gone. The moment's gone. Before you even got into it, it's over. So if you consider time as a stream, and in quantum physics theory, time and dimensions, I think they're saying there's 10 to 12 dimensions of reality. Uh, but time is a stream of something, and that stream is very small. If you look at Australian Aborigines, now get this: this is way before physics ever came up with this. Australian Aborigines see time as one. Past, present, future all intersect at one point, meaning there's really no flow of one to the other. It's just a continuum.
That's so fascinating. It's almost
And
like
so,
light is both a particle and a beam, or so same as a flow.
yeah, and that's why some philosophers are starting to state that our minds, our brains, are quantum machines, because we can understand the flow of time. And so can animals to a point, but I think animals understand the flow or the pattern of food. I get fed in the morning, I get fed at night, and sometimes if the owners are around, I get fed during the day a little bit. But that's a flow, that's a pattern. They're used to the pattern. And when the pattern goes off schedule, they know it. We know it too. We get hungry, we get full, whatever. We're doing sports. A perfect example of this um, is really sports. Look how fast some things happen or how slow they're perceived. So whenever you think of fast, there's always the opposite of it, which is slow. Have you ever been in a car crash or an
Oh, yeah.
accident? I've had this experience where right as I'm about to get hit, things go slow motion. And you could literally see your hands going slowly as you're moving to turn the wheel away from what's about to hit you. And I had one experience. This is when I was about probably 19 in college, and we had just I was with one of my friends, and we were coming out of a Jack in a Box, Overland Street. I remember it well, in Los Angeles. And there was a narrow street getting out of that Jack in a Box, and some guy ran a red light right into us.
Oh my
So
God.
as I'm turning, I saw the guy come out, and I accelerate to get out of his way. I got out of his way because he was just, the only way we could get out was by going slightly over the line for incoming traffic. Well, there was nobody incoming when I pulled
Really?
out. The guy ran it, and I dodged it, wound up on the curve, and the telephone pole decided to stop me.
Uh-oh.
So a nice V in the front of my hood. That was not it wasn't my car either, so that was not a good moment.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
my dad was going, "How did you hit a telephone pole?" Well, it wasn't really on purpose, but anyway, that moment, this all happened in probably 2 3 seconds max, if even that much. Pull out, see, move, and as I'm moving, I'm watching out of the side of my eye my friend Jerry, who's going, "What? Whoa!" And I see him in slow motion hitting his head on the dashboard. This is before seatbelts were mandatory.
Oh my gosh.
They weren't required. They were in cars, but it wasn't a law that you had to use them.
Well,
I don't
even
think,
that, and
yeah,
they were just along the hips. They didn't have the T.
that's right. Yeah, so he went
Could have
straight
hit his,
forward
could have hit his
into
head
it.
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just I think I had my seatbelt on, but it just my forearm hit the steering wheel, but I didn't get any even bruising. But his head hit, and we took him to the hospital right after that because he was bleeding a little bit. Um, that whole incident in slow motion felt like it was 10 15 seconds. It was
Hmm.
probably about a second or two. It happened that quickly. Our perceptions of time, if you've ever played sports, sometimes you'll see something coming at you in a much slower motion than what it's really doing. Our
Oh,
brains can play with time.
well, I mean, I've been working on that in tennis. I have a
Mm,
very bad habit of overrunning the ball.
yeah.
I think I'm slower than I am. So I get to it and I just run too fast. I'm in the wrong position where I have to really gauge where I need to be, not where the ball will be. And so that's been
Well, it's also how do you perceive the ball?
I have to perceive it from the minute track it from the minute it leaves the racket and track it, its speed, everything, and then track what I'm doing. And then, but I've noticed that things seem to go slower. I seem to have all the time in the world because instead of racing it up to it and being T-Rexing it, I'm going back and wait. I'm almost like waiting and being patient. That way, I'm not moving. I'm stopped, and I can actually do weight transfer and really completely change the nature of the hit.
And your perception of the ball coming at you is totally different.
Completely different. It's just completely different because of the calculus of like where I want to be versus just getting to the ball. And and it's been so frustrating because I can get there, but then I'm going instead of, you know,
Right.
and 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 positioning myself. And I mean, I only started doing it because yeah, I don't know, vanity.
Have you ever seen the professional ping pong players from China?
Oh,
It it's a rapid motion game.
oh, it's so
They're
fast.
playing 20 feet away from the table, and they're just boom, 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 boom. It's so fast. And I asked a friend of mine was he's Chinese and he played ping pong and I played against him a couple of times. More like it, I got hit by the ball a couple of times. He was that fast. It was pretty cool. So I resorted to blocking the ball rather than actually playing the ball because it was easier to block it than to actually play it. It took so much practice, but it was really a fun experience. And I asked him, when you see the ball coming at you, how do you see it? He goes, it's coming at me slowly.
Hmm.
So his movements to him were not fast. They were responding to a slow moving little ping pong ball.
Well, he's has so people call it muscle memory, but actually it's tracking memory. Because you're instantly calculating what it's going to do, and you already seeing what it will probably do because of all the different factors in your mind. So
Right.
that
That's,
tracking,
and that's a good point, muscle memory,
muscle
because a lot of
memory,
people go, my brain doesn't have a muscle. Well, it kind of does. Muscles don't have memory.
well, and so
Muscles have training. You know,
yeah, so once you have the this ability to like see that ping pong ball and know where you need to be and the type of stroke to use, then you've got the tracking memory of like based on analyzing all these different ways it's going to bounce and go and et cetera. And you read the ball, but it's reading the tracking, you're tracking it. And I think that's what makes it fun.
it is, it is. And when you play someone like that, who's really that in tune with the movements, with the perception and knowledge of where the ball could go, or whatever it is you're doing, it's really quite fascinating, because at that point you'd really wonder, what am I doing? What is that person doing? It's
Yeah, and it's fun to watch pickleball. I mean, I'll go over to the OU tennis courts, the intramural courts, which have been, they're all dominated by pickleball.
Yeah,
And so I'll be practicing serves and then just watching people playing pickleball. I played it a few times. It's kind of hard to transition over because the racket length is so much different. But
right.
pickleball is fun and it's very social, but people can get into it, but they can't master it quickly. There's like almost no learning curve in being able to just bat it around. But
Hmm.
to be really good, it's just like ping pong. It, it,
Right,
you have all those
right.
factors.
And so time, if you think of time as a stream, if you think of programming or AI as a stream, depending on what you're doing, it's basically the same idea. That stream is looking at patterns. Think of an AI machine as something that's just looking at patterns. When you ask a question of Gemini, it looks at patterns of information before data. Data is a pattern. Data is not as dissimilar as people may think. So you've got a pattern of data. The AI machine has been taught language in the large learning languages models to understand what most language means. It may not philosophically understand what you're saying or intrinsically get the meaning, but it understands the mechanics of what you're saying.
Well, especially if it's been trained on a huge data set, which, for
Right.
example, I've been using uh, Gemini LM just as an experiment to say, okay,
Hmm.
here's an example, a 30-minute um, a 30-minute thing on geothermal video, extracted the audio, turned it into to text, and then asked LLM, Gemini LM notebook to create, just look through it, and based on that, create learning objectives that correspond with it, first and levels, um, lower level Bloom's taxonomy. And it does it beautifully. And then it will do that. Then I ask it to write multiple choice questions based on the content in that
Mm.
tie to those learning objectives that use the correct verbs and all that. And it does a beautiful job. But why is that? It's because the material out there on the web that has to do with learning objectives, Bloom's taxonomy,
Yeah.
sample stuff, and educational materials is vast. And it did a good job in that control data set, which was that script. So I think I would be a little bit more worried I've played around with it where it's a more general topic and it doesn't do so well. But if it's a confined object, which is maybe a 30-minute video, it's really easy to turn that into a legitimate um, little mini course.
Yeah. And and to a certain point, people think AI really has intelligence. It doesn't. it has pattern recognition for the
Yes.
most part. It is taught how to put things together in a fairly, I wouldn't say fluid, but fairly, it's almost a rigid manner right now. Maybe it'll become much more fluid in the future. But once it starts learning a pattern of behavior, how data behaves, how certain data behaves, then you have the opportunity to maybe make it think, or at least the illusion of thinking. I remember, I think we talked about this once. I don't know if it was on a show though. There was a program called Eliza, Eliza. You can probably find it somewhere. Maybe it's even in one of these. I haven't tried it yet. In one of the AI tools, can you play Eliza? Eliza was a therapist, and you'd walk in, and it would say, "Hello, what's your name?" And you would say, "I'm Rick," for example, and it would say, "How do you feel today?" "I feel great." "Have you always felt great?" So it's taking words that you say and kind of throwing them back at you. And, you know, invariably it always came down to, did you get along with your father? What was the problem with your mother? And it
Well,
was sort of funny that way because it would always somehow wind up going to that. Obviously, a Freudian psychologist came up with that. And I think it
well,
was actually some sort of psychologist who developed that. And I can't remember what university it was.
well,
But
and
it was
now,
an excellent example, and it's all hard coded.
it's like super, they're getting super advanced with all that to the
Yeah,
point where the ethical issues are the number one issues. It's not the technical capabilities.
that's true. Uh, but it was fun because in writing the code for that, when you start looking at the code, there's a lot of variables that are just being used and they're being filled depending on what you're saying. And it keeps track of your responses. So it can randomly, within whatever the random number sequence is, from 1 to 10, choose some of these things. It can randomly throw something back at you and it remembers what it told you and what you told it. Because it's not a he or she. We like to call them she usually, but it's really it.
I think it's
Uh,
really remarkable that we usually call them she's,
yeah,
and I think that's because it seems potentially more oh more warm and nurturing and caring.
that's the good AI. Let's not talk about the bad AI, right?
That ah.
The bad AI just laid a whole mess of people off. No, the AI had nothing to do with it. That's just something that made it easier for the bad manager or the bad company, or unfortunately, the company which had no other choice.
Well,
Um,
sometimes companies don't have much of a choice because they sit
no.
there, and it's almost like buying an old building. You can,
Hmm.
it costs more to renovate it than to just like an old office building. It's better to implode it. And and so
Yeah.
if you have deprecated systems and you're trying to, and they've all been baling wired together, or you've got these custom things, you can't fix them anymore. But in theory, you could get people on board to rebuild something, but somebody else is promising an instant solution.
Yeah, and the problem with building, let's say it is a building implosion. The problem with not imploding it is it's extremely expensive if you're trying to make an old building internet ready, for example.
Oh,
And we're
that
talking
too. That too.
it's so expensive to go through. Let's say you have a 50-story building built in the 40s. It's very hard. First of all, you've got different technology then than you do now. You've got a lot of walls to break through. You've got to go through, oh, wait, there was asbestos here. This isn't good. Now you've got to clean up the building. You've got
That's
so
complex.
much to do just to rewire an old building in many cases
That's so
that
true.
it is easier to implode it. It implodes in less than a minute, usually. And to build a new building, they build buildings very quickly now. I'm living in an area in near Boise, Idaho right now. It's called Star, Idaho. And right now there's 23,000 people here. 5 years ago, I think there were 5,000.
Oh my gosh, that's
It's
amazing.
grown. It's
Yeah.
grown. And they estimate by the year 20, I think it was 2040, over 100,000. So we're talking in less than 14 years of growth, you're going to have two-thirds more, well, actually three-quarters more people than there are now. That's quite a number of change. Well, everything's new. There's a lot of new things coming up. We were watching a new retail platform coming up just about a mile from us with four new buildings. Those buildings are almost done. That they have to do the insides, but all the outsides, is the roof, everything in less than 2 months. Just going,
Wow.
wow.
Yeah,
Prefabs
it's
are
gonna be
amazing.
interesting. And it's interesting if are they built to last forever, or are they built to implode and start over in 20, 30 years?
You could probably implode and start them over. They could last forever until forever changes technology or
Well, that's what I'm
changes
saying. Yeah.
building materials or earthquakes or whatever. Anything that happens that could force it to change. An earthquake doesn't care what you make it in, it'll destroy something. Same with volcanoes.
Yeah.
But you could build something that new materials make it fireproof 100%. Well, that would be
Yeah,
good
that's
to have. So maybe they decide to do that, but it's expensive to have to replace every wall or every piece, every artifact of material when you could just quickly knock it down in 2, 3 months, it's back up.
that's true. Well, okay, so we were talking about time.
Time.
And
We're running
and I
out of
have
time
to,
now.
yeah, we're out of time. So I guess I need to go.
Yeah. So in your time, if you're watching or listening to the show, if we were boring, then it went very slowly. If we were good, then hopefully you go, oh, it's over so quickly. No,
Or
we had.
maybe
I'm not
maybe
even
it
sure
was
what time it
soothing.
is right now. What? No,
May-
let's see what time.
Well, maybe it was soothing and you've fallen asleep and you're waking up and going, "Oh, that's over."
Yeah, yeah. We control the horizontal, the vertical, and those the outer limits.
That's funny. Well, yeah, so I didn't have any meetings except for one today, and then one popped up that I have to attend at the top of the hour.
Anyway, we hope you enjoyed that. Here's some homework for you. Pay attention to time, how long things take, how short they are. Pay attention to how you feel when you're watching something you enjoy or watching something really boring. If you're in a classroom, is the teacher interesting or not? Is the material something you really resonate with or not? Follow how you perceive time in all of those situations.
I love it. And that time consciousness is
Mhm.
a part of what gives you an edge, and this is life edge.
And this is life edge, and that will give you an edge if you're aware of time. Um, I did a little video on time. It's in our if you go to our old website, which is let me not do that because it's coming down soon. It's going to be in a new
Well,
website.
we could put a link in the show notes.
Well, yeah, yeah, because we'll put a link on it.
Yeah, because I mean, I think
It's
it'd
a
be hard to
video on
find.
time. It's
Yeah,
only like a 1.5, 2 minute video. It's not very long, but it talks about time, perceptions, what you do with time. It was kind of fun.
I love it. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for being here with us as we enjoy our time. Our time together with you is short. Um, and we'll see you next time.
Perfect.
Bye, Susan. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.